Welcome back. Here we go. Another art lesson. So the last lesson you should have done was Pocket Full of Colors inspired with Mary Blair with the construction paper collage. We're going to be moving back into paint today. Painting is one of my favorite things to do. So you should still have your watercolor sets. If not, I will send some down. But before we do our watercolor, we're going to be reading a book. I love to put books with them. This is another one that kind of talks about diversity and being different and still being able to find things in common. It's also about the nerves that you might have whenever you're starting a new school year or meeting new friends. Like you, I'm sure you know that we are also getting new friends joining our classrooms all the time, and they might be a little shy, they might be nervous to share about their family life or about what they got to do over the summer, or even what their name is. And so it's a really good book to kind of show you how to open up to your friends and your new friends. Even some of your adults that you can trust here at school, we want you to feel comfortable sharing some special things about you. So the book is called The Day You Begin. I'm going to send you guys a link. And then what we're going to be studying today in our art lesson is facial proportions. And we'll be using Sharpie, watercolor, and markers. So enjoy the book, and I'll meet you back here in just a minute for the draw along. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the book, The Day You Begin. Today we're going to be working on a self-portrait. That means a picture of yourself. And this is the example of the lesson that we're going to be doing today. This is Mrs.Marple, as you can probably tell. I'm actually not wearing this outfit because I made this earlier, but you can kind of see there's a couple of different elements to it. We're going to be working on our self-portrait. You can make yours more realistic if you would like to, but this one is simplified with exaggerated features, meaning they're a little bit bigger than normal to showcase or emphasize, bring attention to the eyes. We'll also be adding on half of the paper some lines. You can do different lines since we've already covered line with the rainbow, skin tone rainbow. And then we're also going to be putting some words or some pictures in here to describe ourselves. All right, so what you're going to need. I'm going to actually give you a large piece of paper that's not in your sketchbook, just so we don't get water on our Mary Blair picture. So you're going to take your large piece of construction paper and fold it in half. So you're going to bring it over, and you're going to match up the corners as best you can, smooth it out, and press on that seam. And the reason we're doing that is because we're doing two different things on each side. One side is your portrait, picture of you, your self-portrait, and then the other side is going to be your words about you, describing you. So once you have your paper folded, go ahead and unfold it so that it's open like a book. You need it horizontal in front of you instead of vertical. Vertical would be like this. We're going to be working horizontally today, or landscape orientation. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the shape of the face. We're going to be working with facial proportions, and I'm going to be doing the very basics of facial proportions. We're not going to be going into Mrs.Marple, that's not realistic. Oh, that nose is too big. Oh, those eyes are too big. We're going to do a simple cartoon version of a self-portrait. But if you know how to draw people really well and you want to change the style, by all means, this is the handout that'll be coming to your classroom. So if you would rather just use the handout instead of watching the step-by-step, you're welcome to do that as well. What we're going to do is we're going to start on the left-hand side, right? If you hold up your hand, it makes an L. We're going to use this piece for our self-portrait. And I want my face to be about the size of my hand, okay? No super tiny faces, because then you're going to have a whole bunch of background to paint in, and that's going to take a lot of time. So I'm going to put my hand here so I can kind of get the idea of where I want it. You want it to be a little bit closer to the top instead of at the bottom, because then you wouldn't have room for neck and shoulders. So I'm going to put mine about here. And I'm going to start with a U shape, a large U shape for the bottom side of my face. Okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and draw this in Sharpie. I want you guys to use pencil first, but I'll draw it darker so that you guys can see it just a little bit better. Now, we're going to be adding the facial features before we start the hair on this lesson. The eyes, are some simple shapes called half circles or semicircles, and they go about halfway down the human face. If you were to look into a mirror, and I'll provide some mirrors for you so you can see a little bit better, about halfway down the face is going to be the eyes. So I want you guys to use your eye to measure about halfway, and I want you to draw me 2 semicircles. And you want them to be about the same size. Remember, symmetry is important. It's important when you're drawing your van. It's important when you're drawing your rainbow. You want both sides to be about the same size. If they end up being slightly different, that's perfectly fine, but we want to try to do symmetrical facial features. Now, depending on which direction you want your eyes to look is where you'll draw your pupils. If you want them looking up or down, I'm going to have mine looking to the side across to the other side of the paper. So I'm just going to do some curved lines. And you can wait to paint these in, or you can color them in with Sharpie. Halfway down from the eyes, from the chin, if you were to divide this in half, almost like folding it, would be the nose. Halfway between the eyes and the chin is the nose. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start with just a stretched out U shape for the bottom of my nose. And if you want to put nostrils on it, you can if you want to, or you can leave it like that. It's pretty cute like that too. I'm going to put some nostrils on. And then halfway from your nose and your chin is where your mouth will go. So you might want to think about, do you want to show teeth? Are you going to stick out your tongue? Are you going to do a smile? You could do a sad face if you wanted to. You can be honest about how you feel right now. But I'm just going to do a simple smile on mine, halfway between the nose and the chin. And if you're a boy, it's easier to just do the bottom lip and not necessarily do a top lip because it can tend to look like lipstick. But if you want to do the top lip as well, feel free to. I'm going to make mine into a boy just because I've already got a version of myself. I don't need another one. And if you need to stop for a minute, this would be a good place to stop. You could add eyelashes or eyebrows if you're waiting on your neighbor to finish up. I'm going to add some eyebrows up over the eyes. Okay. The next thing we want to add is the ears. The ears, if you drew a line with your fingers and your finger and thumb across between your eyes and your nose and draw to the side, that is where your ears go. So I'm drawing over right there. So we're just going to do some curved lines. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Symmetrical, trying to make them about the same size. This one's a little bit bigger, but guess what? That is okay. And then I want you guys to do a smaller C on the inside, so this is just the inside of your ear. Now you know we can't have a floating head, so we're going to draw a neck that attaches to our body. At the bottom of our neck, or at the bottom of our chin here, we're going to add 2 parallel lines. Lines that are side by side but don't touch each other. Those are called parallel lines. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to draw a neck. Those are some lines. And then I'm going to curve into shoulders and take it off the side of the paper and down. So we started with some vertical parallel lines and then they turned into horizontal lines and then back down. You want to try to curve the shoulders and not make them straight angles like a square. Now, this would be a great time for you to think about what you're wearing. You can look in the mirror and see what your shirt looks like. You could draw maybe your favorite shirt that you have at home, or you can just make it up. I'm just going to draw a collar for my shirt, and I will draw where my arms attach to my body, and I think that's pretty good. I like it like that. Take this time to pause if you're designing your outfit. I know that we haven't finished the hair yet, and that's okay. For the hair, I do want you to look into the mirror and try to match your hair as best as you can. If you're a boy, you might have sideburns and you want to start down here. If you're a girl, you can start at the top with the hairline. So I'm going to start with the sideburns here that go along the side. And I'm going to draw a hairline up here. That's where the hair starts on your forehead. And then I'm going to draw up above the head for my hair. I like his hair. Now, if yours is a female character, you can have the hair going behind the shoulders, or you can draw it going in front of the shoulder. You can have a braid. This one is my self-portrait, so you can see how they're different. Now that we've finished our self-portrait, we're gonna move on to the other side, right here. So what I would like for you to do is try to follow his eyes. If you have him looking over to the other side of the paper, try to follow his eyes to a point, and right here on the crease, I want you to put a tiny dot. Now after you put that dot in here, we're gonna be using some lines. You can use different kinds of lines, but what they're gonna do is they're gonna extend from this dot and go all the way over to the edge of the paper. Now you can go to the corner, you can go straight across, and you're gonna do this filling this side of the paper. I want you to have at least 3 spaces. So I already have 4, so I could stop if I wanted to, but I can also make more if I want to. I want you to have at least 3 or 4. All right. This is where we're gonna stop with our drawing for this project. So this is a good time to pause, work on something else for a little bit, and on your next art day, you can come back for the watercolor. I will go ahead and start if you're gonna do your art day in one long session. I have a watercolor set here. Now I know that some of these colors you don't have in your set, but I will also be sitting down some of those liquid watercolors so you can use those glittery colors as well. What I want you to work on first is your skin tone. Now I know you guys know how to make skin tones because you should have done that on your rainbow. So since mine is not a self-portrait, I can come up with any color I want for my skin tone, but I want you to try to match yours. So that may mean you need an extra piece of paper to mix these and try them out, because they might look different in your watercolor tray. And I'm gonna mix them in the tray just like last time. I'm gonna mix some brown and some yellow together. And then I'm gonna paint in my skin first, because that's gonna take the most time when you're mixing, is to get the right skin tone. So we'll get that out of the way so we can work on some other things. And don't forget those little ears. And your neck should be a matching skin tone. So you want to try to paint those at the same time, because it's hard to mix the same color twice, especially if it's on a separate day. All right, so we have our skin tone painted, and after that, you can start working on the rest of your person. I want you guys to try to stay on this side of the paper before moving on to this side. So I'm gonna quickly finish up this side, and then I'll meet you back and we'll talk about what we're gonna do on this side. Try to make the colors realistic on your skin and your hair. Your shirt, like I said, it could be whatever shirt you want. You can use your imagination with the shirt, and you can use your imagination with the background here, and just leave this space for the next time you're able to use paint. Painted the self-portrait that you guys should be working on right now, and then I've also filled the background behind the boy. So the boy would be in the foreground, and all of these really pretty colored dots are the background. And I love the way it turned out. I'm really happy with it. When you fill in the background of this, it does not have to be one solid color or filled with color like my first example. I still like this one, but I like this one a lot better. So feel free to use multiple colors. You can put patterns back here like polka dots or checkered or something. This just kind of looks like confetti. I really enjoy it. So the background and the person are done. And now I'm gonna move over to this other half of the paper. And I do want you to color these in a solid color. So take the time and have fun over here with all the different colors you like. And then I want you to color each one of these sections with one color from your watercolor set or from your liquid watercolors that I'm providing to your classroom. When I'm finished with that, you're gonna want to let it dry. So this would be where you stop for at least, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, because after these sections dry, we're gonna be using marker on top to draw some words or draw some pictures that describe us or can help explain to our friends our interests or what we're like, okay? I'm gonna finish this up and then I'll meet you back after this section has dried. Okay friends, my painting has completely dried, which means the back feels nice and dry, the front feels nice and dry, nothing moves around because everything's all dry. And we're gonna be working together to figure out if regular markers will work on this glitter watercolor paint or if I have to send these heavy duty permanent markers. So we'll just have to see what ends up happening with these. But I'm gonna try using regular marker first. Now in your classroom, before you start on your actual picture, you might find a piece of notebook paper to brainstorm some words to describe yourself. And think about how you would describe yourself to a stranger, to a new friend coming into your classroom, what they might want to know about you. So you might say that you have a hamster, you might say that you play guitar, or maybe a sport that you play. Maybe you have a favorite musician. Maybe you have a brother or sister, or maybe you're a brother or sister to somebody. This needs to be about you. So think about the things that make you special or unique. It could be where you're from. And then you're gonna pick one of these words for each of your solid colors on this side of your picture. So I'm gonna pick a few that I'm using my imagination, right? This is your self-portrait, so you wanna pick them about you, but since this person is made up for me, I can pick whatever I want. So I think the first one I'm gonna do is gamer, because I think he probably likes to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater. That's what my husband and my daughter Elsie really like to play right now. So I'm gonna write gamer up here. Oh, it is working, good. And you wanna make sure that you have your words written out on a separate sheet of paper, just in case, because even though you know how to spell cat, oh my goodness, if you're writing on something with permanent marker or with a marker, you're gonna spell it wrong just because you're too confident. So having a piece of paper right next to you is really helpful, just so you can just double check before you make a mistake that can't be erased. All right, so since these markers are working, I'm gonna pick another color and pick another descriptive word. I'm gonna do soccer. So my kid also likes to play soccer. And he likes music. So you could either write musician, or you could write music, or you could put music notes here. You know, I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna put musician in this nice green one here. And since it's a longer word, because I have the biggest piece here, I know I'll have room. You could also write this in pencil first, really lightly, and then just draw over the top. And if you have younger students, they could draw pictures, like they could draw a controller up here, they could draw a soccer ball here with marker, just the music notes here. You can find a way to turn it into something that they are capable of going over on their own. If you want to write the word for them and they can practice going over the letters, that would be fine as well. So Mrs. Z, she never comes in to teach me anything about music notes, but I think I know what they look like. I bet you guys could probably tell your teachers what these notes are. I think that's all I know. Okay, shh, don't tell Mrs. Z. So musician for this one, and then I've got one more, and I think I'm gonna put artist on that one. Or you know what, let's put brother, that's a good one. So maybe he's got a younger sibling that he is a big brother to, or maybe he's a little brother to somebody. Brother. Okay, and those markers work really good, even on the glittery watercolor paint, so you can choose the regular watercolor or the liquid watercolor for these pieces here, and even your background. Let's use regular watercolor or tempera for the face. I may end up sending tempera down with you just so it's easier for our smaller friends, but this project works great with watercolor and tempera paints. If you have gone over some of your areas with paint, especially tempera because it's more opaque, you might want to, at the end, go over some areas again with a permanent marker, with a Sharpie, to make those lines show up and make those areas a little darker. Like maybe you tried painting your pupils black, but it looks more like a blue, and you want them to be a nice solid color black. Okay, I think I'm done with this. I am happy with it. This is going to be something that you can hang up in your pod, or you can take home when you finish, because it is not inside of your sketchbook. It is something that you can proudly display or take home. I hope you enjoyed this. We will get back with you on another lesson next week. Bye, guys.